So we have ICE officers and Border Patrol on the streets of Chicago. Thanks, President Trump, for listening to the real Chicago citizens. This is what happens when you have failed leadership like Brandon Johnson and J.D. Pritzker. This is what happens when you fail to keep our streets safe, Americans safe, and you put illegal aliens over the citizens that pay your salary. This is what happens when we, the people, keep blindly voting for people who care nothing about us.
Get him! What's that? What's that?
In Chicago last night, hundreds of federal agents descended on an apartment building in a dramatic raid, targeting alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. People were handcuffed, children were involved, and US citizens say they were detained too. This is more than law enforcement. This is a moment that tests civil rights, immigration policy, and justice. Hello everyone, Dennis here. Today, we break down what actually happened in Chicago, who Tren de Aragua is, what federal agencies claim, and what this means for residents, migrants, and all of us. Just a heads up, all videos, clips, reports, statements I show here belong to their original creators and agencies. I fully give them credit and appreciate their work. My role is commentary, analysis, and asking the hard questions. So let's get into it. In Chicago's South Shore neighborhood, federal agents carried out a large-scale immigration enforcement operation early Tuesday morning. The FBI confirmed it assisted the US Border Patrol. Reports and witnesses say flashbangs, tactical gear, and dozens, maybe hundreds of agents surrounded the building.
Federal agents just launched one of the largest raids in Chicago history. Nearly 300 armed federal officers, helicopters overhead, with agents rappelling out of the helicopters into buildings, and an early morning strike on a foreign gang terrorist organization entrenched in our city. This wasn't just another police action, it was a coordinated show of federal power. And the group targeted? It was Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang and terrorist organization expanding across our republic. 24 suspects are now in custody, but what comes next? Will this operation finally turn the tide, or is it the beginning of a bigger fight? So do you guys think raids like this are the answer to restoring safety in our cities? I think so, and I voted for this stuff. If you guys did too, please drop your thoughts in the comments below. And the story keeps getting crazier. And the details from inside the raid, they change absolutely everything for our nation. So my name is Tom. I'm with the Daily Beltway. I'm also publisher of the Illinois Review and a White House correspondent for the Next News Network. And before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe. We're a growing channel, and every like, comment, and subscription helps us reach more people who care about the truth. So even a thumbs up or I voted for this helps out more than you guys could ever understand. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. It's Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin. He was on the scene reporting live during the operation. Check this out. It's insane.
It's hard to see, but there's a helicopter right there on this building, and that helicopter has just inserted snipers for the protection of all these federal agents you can see entering the building. What they are after, 6 particular individuals associated with Tren de Aragua. They say these individuals are responsible for dealing in guns, long guns and handguns, as well as drugs. The helicopter is now just taken off. This is really an unprecedented show of federal force. Almost 300 agents coming to get control of this building and the people inside.
That's crazy.
They detained about 24 people, searching only apartments where no rent was being paid. So far, we don't know if they got the high-value targets they've been tracking. One guy did display a Tren de Aragua tattoo. But the new detainees are being held and processed at this ICE facility in Broadview.
That is exactly what I voted for. And J.B. Pritzker said, stop sending in federal forces. We can handle this on our own. We need to protect Americans. J.B. Pritzker. He wants to run for president, guys. Let me know what you think about him running for president in the comments. So, federal forces stormed a Chicago apartment building early Tuesday morning, targeting members of the Tren de Aragua terrorist organization. Nearly 300 agents moved in before dawn, with helicopters lighting the skies and tactical units surrounding the building. By mid-morning, 24 suspects were detained, along with weapons, poison, you know what I'm talking about, and contraband. And Tren de Aragua, they started in Venezuela's prisons, but in just a few years, it spread across Latin America and into our republic. They are now a terrorist organization, and their methods are brutal, exploiting migrant communities, trafficking poison, and enforcing control with violence. And officials say Chicago became one of their key hubs. Not a surprise. So do you guys think foreign gangs like this should be treated as terrorist groups? You know, like that's what we voted for. Let me know in the comments, guys, for or against it. And President Trump already took that step earlier this year, designated Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. That gave law enforcement the tools to freeze their money, track their leaders, and hit their networks harder than ever. And that's what I wanted to happen. The operation in Chicago is being described as unprecedented by every single media outlet, because it is. Helicopters in an urban raid are rare, but authorities say it was necessary to ensure that the suspects did not escape. And community members woke up to searchlights and heavy gear on their streets. And some say they're finally starting to feel safe. And others worry about fallout in the migrant communities. But here's the part that they never expected. This raid is not the last. Sources tell us similar actions are being planned in other cities where Tren de Aragua has a footprint. And that means that the fight is only escalating. So do you guys think Trump's law and order strategy is working? Let me know in the comments below, because I tend to read almost all of them. So if you guys if you got value from this update, please tap subscribe. My opinion is next. And again, if you can, like, comment, and share. Even text it to people. Helps break through that restriction. And that's how we stand together as patriots. You got to work together. So this raid matters because it shows what happens when the federal government actually uses its power to protect citizens instead of ignoring crime. For too long, gangs and terrorist organizations like Tren de Aragua spread unchecked, hiding in plain sight. But under Trump, the gloves are off. Our republic is stronger when law-abiding citizens can live without fear, and no family should have to worry about foreign gangs taking over their neighborhoods. So, critics, they're going to say, operations like this are a little too aggressive, but I want you guys to ask the families in Chicago and across this country who have been terrorized by this organization, this gang, this terrorist, whatever you want to call them. I don't think it was too aggressive. I think it was just finally justice. And this is the kind of actions that keep Americans safe. So stay aware, stay vocal, and never back down from defending our republic.
Man, I don't know if y'all keeping up with what's going on in Chicago, but I just seen some crazy shit, some unprecedented shit in Chicago with the federal agents. The federal agents, about 300 of them, raided this apartment building, this apartment complex. And they raided it, they came down on it with a Black Hawk. They surrounded the building, but then you had some people secure the roof. You had agents that were securing the roof. And they came out of a Black Hawk, man. And they raided it and they arrested, I believe, about 30 illegal aliens. 30 of them. Most of them, a large amount of them were Tren de Aragua. If you don't know who Tren de Aragua is, it was a gang, I believe a Venezuelan gang, from Venezuela. And man, they not playing. They not fucking playing, man. These agents, they raided an entire building, man. They did it, the way they did it, they found out who wasn't paying rent. Because, these gangs, they go up in there and they just, they don't go by the rules. They harass the managers, threaten the managers, people that work in the building, the landlords, and they just take over. So they checked the list of people who wasn't paying rent. And that's how they found out. And the shit is getting hit in the fan in Chicago, man. Them boys is not playing.
So we have ICE officers and Border Patrol on the streets of Chicago. Thanks, President Trump, for listening to the real Chicago citizens. This is what happens when you have failed leadership like Brandon Johnson and J.D. Pritzker. This is what happens when you fail to keep our streets safe, Americans safe, and you put illegal aliens over the citizens that pay your salary. This is what happens when we, the people, keep blindly voting for people who care nothing about us. And if you don't want the federal agents here, then do your job. Do the job that you should have been doing. Clean up the corruption, clean up the crime, clean up all these illegal aliens in our community, clean up the chaos. Do the job that we, the citizens, pay you to do. And until you do that, don't blame the federal government for doing the job that you refuse to do. Get over it. So we, Chicago Flips Red, we want to send a special shout out to ICE officers and Border Patrol. Hopefully, we can get down there and take some pictures with you all and to just let you all know that we appreciate what you're doing to make our communities and streets safer again. And we just want to thank you.
It's hard to see, but there's a helicopter right there on this building. And that helicopter has just inserted snipers for the protection of all these federal agents you can see entering the building. What they are after, 6 particular individuals associated with Tren de Aragua. They say these individuals are responsible for dealing in guns, long guns and handguns, as well as drugs. The helicopter is now just taken off. This is really an unprecedented show of federal force. Almost 300 agents coming to get control of this building and the people inside.
They detained about 24 people, searching only apartments where no rent was being paid. So far, we don't know if they got the high-value targets they've been tracking. One guy did display a Tren de Aragua tattoo. But the new detainees are being held and processed at this ICE facility in Broadview.
Get him! What's that? What's that?
If they didn't see it in person, Chicagoans say they saw the videos of ICE agents walking around the tourist areas. Today, the governor, Latino caucus, and some immigrant rights groups, they're going to talk about this latest show of force. Dozens of uniformed agents were seen walking in Chicago, and when they were at the sidewalk cafes in River North, Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino could be heard telling a woman, "We work for you." She thanked him and the agents who followed him. ICE agents were reported by Millennium Park, walking on Michigan Avenue, the Riverwalk, and outside Portillo's. People recorded video. Some said they saw ICE take people into custody. Mayor Johnson said the city's being intimidated and threatened by masked federal agents. Chicagoans this morning are reacting.
My wife works on Michigan Avenue on Superior. She works there, so she saw all the action and all that. We're like, man, it's really, really, you hurt people. You're hurting kids, you're hurting families, you're hurting, the communities. And it's not right.
Some US citizens in that building say they were temporarily detained, having to give identity and be handcuffed briefly. Agents say their targets included 6 high-priority individuals tied to Tren de Aragua. The raid left property damage in the building, doors blown off, holes in the wall, forced entry. Authorities claimed the building was being used by criminals and undocumented actors, including gang involvement. Who is Tren de Aragua? Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan gang that has been linked in multiple US cities to crimes: extortion, drug trafficking, forced prostitution, violent acts. The gang first appeared in Chicago and its suburbs around October 2023. Police and media have reported that members may live in migrant shelters or infiltrate them. However, there is a debate. Some local investigators say evidence of their deep influence is limited in certain neighborhoods. Local residents say the raid was chaotic. Children crying, confusion, fear. US citizens in the building complained they were treated like suspects, even though they had no immigration issues. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago's mayor publicly opposed the operation and criticized proposals to send troops to the city. Federal agencies defend it as a legitimate enforcement against criminal elements that exploit immigration systems. The tension is high. Calls that Chicago is being used as a training ground for a federal force have ignited protests. This operation in Chicago is more than headlines or crime news. It's a crossroads. Can a country protect itself from criminal infiltration while still honoring dignity, rights, and justice for all? We must not forget that even when criminals are targeted, innocent people, citizens, children may pay the price. I reflect on Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. This reminds me that any power we wield, federal or local, must aim at justice, compassion, humility. What do you think? Was this raid justified or an overreach? Do enforcement and civil rights ever clash too dangerously? Leave your thoughts below. I want to hear from you. If you value honest, bold commentary on issues that matter, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation alive.